Hey folks, today I'm going to be building out my new GoPro and lighting setup for my XJoy-37 Suex DPV. Before getting into the new build, I want to show you what my original design was because it definitely has some pros and it definitely has some cons. So the major pro of my original idea was its simplicity. As you can see, it's made out of entirely 3D printed parts, and the lighting here is connected with two bungees that are really tight. Additionally, this setup allowed me to connect the lights with a threaded connector piece here. As you can see, it's a little bit rusty, so that was definitely a flaw. But this ensured that even if the bungees broke or something of that nature, the light wouldn't fall to the depths. Here is a view without the light, and as you can see, very, very simple. It contours to the DPV's diameter right there. Just has a couple of bungees that are tied through the backside. So for the GoPro portion, it was a very similar concept. It had a 3D printed part in which the carrying handle webbing passed through to secure it to the DPV. And then what I decided to do here was create a ball mount connection that I could unthread and remove from the DPV when I wasn't filming, or if I just wanted to remove the camera after a dive. So here's the concept in a little bit more detail. Essentially, you have the typical GoPro style interface there. I did put a small hole in the side of it so that I could secure a small little fishing line catch in case this piece broke. That was more of an issue when I printed with PLA. This material is PETG carbon fiber, which is stronger and more durable against weather and underwater conditions. GoPro portion connects to a small ball that I then secured a knob to. What I used to secure the pieces together was an acrylic cement. Essentially what I did is printed these parts separately at a certain axis to get the best print quality, and then left small channels within the parts that I could pour that cement, and then they would weld together essentially. The same was also done for this component as well. I printed this main piece here and then printed this separately with internal threads. So the last aspect of this original design was the buoyancy compensation. So because I didn't have any kind of float arms or anything of that nature, I decided to use an SMB that I folded into thirds. You can kind of see that here. And then I duct taped on the top and bottom to keep it secure. Now this was a little bit of a jerry-rigged kind of ghetto setup, but it ended up working remarkably well because what it allowed me to do was, while holding the DPV in kind of a temp stow position, I could adjust the buoyancy here. So I live in the Pacific Northwest, where we get a lot of sediment in the water and a lot of scatter in general when we're lighting things up. And so the primary issue I had with this setup was that because the lights were so central relative to the GoPro, anytime I tried to film something, I was often getting a lot of backscatter and losing a lot of that detail that I would like to maintain. So the first thing I want to fix with this new design is moving these lights further out. The second thing I want to fix is the buoyancy compensation over here. Even though it was really functional and I really like the concept, it's a little bit ragdolly. So for the new design, I wanted to still use my existing ball mount and knob setup for the GoPro because it works really well and I haven't had any issues with it breaking after switching to that new material. However, for the lighting setup, because I wanted the lights further away from the camera, more spread out, I decided I would go with a float arm setup. As I showed before, I had created a 3D printed contoured part for the GoPro. However, because I now need something to secure the float arms, I need to create one of these for the new lighting setup as well. So the concept I decided to go with is this piece here. Now this piece, as you can see, looks very similar to the other components I showed in that it should allow the grip handle strap to go through there right where I have the slot. Instead of having my own 3D printed ball mount, I decided I would rather buy a stronger aluminum ball mount that I could then really torque and not worry about it breaking or snapping. Now, as you can see, I have threaded the ball mount into the component here, and the way I've managed to do that is by first 3D printing the base component and then using heat inserts that I can solder into the material, essentially like that. So the general concept is I will take my threaded insert and I will put it on the soldering iron, let it heat up, and then I press fit it into the material. Now, one of the issues I encountered early on when I did a demo piece was that because the insert doesn't go all the way to the tip, if you don't stack two of them together, then what you end up doing is melting a bunch of the plastic and it creates this big ugly mess. So the way I've been doing it is heating up both of these, and I might spin it around just a little bit to kind of speed up the process. Wait just a few seconds, it really doesn't take that long. And then you can kind of see here where the hole is. And I'm just going to align things up and slowly press fit it in there. And I can feel there's definitely a little bit of resistance. One second. Going nice and slow, making sure to be even. Let's see, might need to do a little bit more. And that's pretty good. So for my first thread, that came out pretty well, pretty even, and I'm happy with that. So let's get another one and repeat the cycle. So now here is the finished concept. Looks really good. And you can see the threads are inserted. Now, what you can't determine in the video is that the plastic and the metal is still a little bit warm. And so before threading anything into these pieces, what I want to do is let this part cool so that when I thread it in, I don't pull the inserts out. I want to make sure everything is fully cooled before I do any of that. So I let the threads cool down a little bit and have since added the ball mount connectors and placed them on the DPV. So my plan right now is to have the GoPro right there in the middle and then have the ball mounts on either side so I can extend the lights. So based on the weighting I have calculated and tested out, I think this will most likely be the ideal setup. Have the GoPro right there in the middle with with two, I guess, adapters right there, and then the float arm with the lights attached at the end. I don't have the lights on right now because out of the water it causes the arms to sink down, and I wanted to show what it would look like. Finally, in the stowed position, this is what the setup would look like with the lights there in the middle, float arms and all that stuff. As you can see, the new adapters look really damn good, and underwater they should fold out really easily and allow me to get better quality lighting. Thanks for watching the video. I wanted to document the process of this because I find this type of thing really cool, and I hope you enjoy. Catch you in the next one.